and welcome to Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast where we talk about all of the things that I love, some of the things that I hate, and this wacky adventure that we call life. My name is Bob, I'm your host, and I'm glad you're here today for Sid's Top 10s. And why doesn't the salt stay on the pretzel? Let's get started. Welcome back to today's episode. Really glad you're here today. Before we get going, happy Father's Day. This week is Father's Week. Happy Father's Day. That's coming up at the end of this week. So happy Father's Day to all of the great fathers and father figures out there. I don't think you need to be a biological father to serve as a father figure in someone's life. You don't even need to have that necessarily age difference. I've had some people pretty close in age to me that certainly served as a father figure to me, and I had a great father. I didn't need necessarily a father figure, but sometimes you get more than one, and aren't you lucky for that? They often say that by the time a man realizes how right his father always was, he probably has a child who thinks that he's always wrong. Circle of life, right? Nothing could be truer in the world. So if you're a father, hopefully this weekend you have plans to do something great and to celebrate. You celebrate the ability to fertilize an egg, to sustain the life of the subsequent human, and all of the glory that is being constantly wrong. Before we get started, I do want to give you a reminder to tell your friends, share us on Facebook. More listeners is more fun. If you want to financially support the show, you can click the support the show link in the show description or buy some merch from the merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS. You could find us on YouTube at Robert H. Sloan, RHS Music, including old podcast episodes, video shorts, and the Star Wars only episodes playlist. There is some RHS Music composition stuff on there too, so please enjoy that. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast, and RHS Music has a Facebook at RHS Music. On today's show, it is our 10th episode of our 4th season, and every 10th episode in the cycle can mean only one thing, and that is Sid's Top 10s. So we're going to get into that today, looking forward to it, and why doesn't the salt stick to the pretzel? Let's roll. All right, let's get into our first top 10 of the episode. For that, we're going to Star Wars, and we're bringing in our producer and my sister, Kathy. Kathy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bob?
I'm doing just fine. We're about to talk about Star Wars, so that's awesome. As you know, because this is not our first version of this, although it's been a while because the last 10th episode, we did brackets, so we didn't really do a top 5 bottom 1 or top 10 bottom 2. So it's been a little while. It's been since Christmas. It was a Christmas episode when we did the last one. So what we're doing here is we picked a topic. You picked your top 5. I picked my top 5. That gives us a top 10. And in true Symbols and Cynicism fashion, we also have a bottom 1. You got your list ready to go?
I sure do. This was a really hard list to make, harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, when I proposed this, you were like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And then I started doing it, and I've changed it about 25 times, maybe not, but and the order was really tough too. Not just like which 5 am I going to pick, but yeah, this was really, really hard. And we did not confer on the lists. It's just you made a list, I made a list, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they're not all the same. I got 2 that I definitely don't think you picked. I've got 1 I think you probably did, and then 2 that I think are possible, but maybe. So the topic here, we haven't talked, it's Father's Day for us. And so we decided to do Star Wars dads. Now, it doesn't have to be a literal dad. There's lots of male figures in Star Wars that are father figures, whether it's found father, adopted father, or just a person that acts a lot in fatherly ways to certain characters. So it doesn't have to actually be literal father, it's father figures. So I'll start with my number 5. This is one I think you did not pick. This is from the Clone Wars animated series and also appears in Bad Batch. I think 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. This is Cut LaQuaine, a minor character in some regards, but every time I watch the episodes with Cut LaQuaine, I just get really great like dad vibes. He's a clone. He went AWOL partway, and he was a deserter partway through the Clone Wars. He goes to a backwater planet, meets a girl, falls in love, they get married, they have 2 kids, and we don't know really any of that story until the war shows up and the clones show up and they meet Cut and they meet the kids. He is loyal to it's obvious that his children love him, that he has been a good father. He has provided. He loves his wife. They're a great family unit. And throughout the episodes that we see Cut LaQuaine, he battles droids to defend his family. He's built a fence to keep out, all of the threatening, there's the predator creatures on their planet. He builds this fence. So I just think he is a really great, despite, yes, he's flawed because of the deserter nature, but he's a great father. His kids clearly love him, and I think he's a really great figure. So who you got for number 5?
My number 5 is gonna go also Clone Wars era. I'm going with the father, which is I think actually his name, the Father. He is the father on the planet Mortis, which is the planet that kind of embodies the Force. The father and the daughter and son are Force wielders, they call themselves. And he's number 5 on my list because he's not always a great dad, but as the kind of father of all of that power and all of that managing to try to keep good and bad in balance, light and dark in balance, and also trying to figure out what the future is, right? He's trying to figure out if Anakin is the chosen one. He gives him this test and try to figure out Anakin's level of power and what side Anakin is going to choose. And so he's not just like the father of this daughter Morai and the son whose name I don't know if it's ever named, but he's also trying to figure out like what is best for all of the universe and the Force and all of that. And so I'm putting him at my number 5.
I mean, that's a good pick. I didn't even have him on my my long list of possible father. Yeah, he's like the father of the Force. So
Yeah.
great pick by you. I did not have him. How about let's zigzag it through. So give us your number 4.
All right, this is going to maybe disappoint you or maybe make you really, really happy with me and how deep into Star Wars I have gotten because of our relationship. My number 4 is Cut LaQuaine from Clone Wars Season 2, Bad Batch Season 1. You already said all the high points to Cut. The one thing I will add is that in Bad Batch, kind of the story of Bad Batch is these clones that have, gone bad in that they didn't follow Order 66, but there is also this little girl who is a clone and her name is Omega, and the Bad Batch guys are trying to take care of her, but in the Cut LaQuaine episode of Bad Batch, he is they try to get him to take her, and he is willing to like take her in as a member of his family. And that, spoiler alert, after all these years, it doesn't end up happening. She stays with the Bad Batch guys, but yeah, his willingness to even like sort of take on, foster, adopt or something, this other child that he has basically just met is one of his good qualities.
Yeah, for sure. He's a great guy. I'll go number 4, which is another animated series. Every time we do these lists, there's just tons of animated on here. Cham Syndulla, literal father of Hera. And Cham is a freedom fighter. He believes in Ryloth before anything. As we see their We actually see him first in Clone Wars, and we see like little Hera is in the Clone Wars in one episode, and then we see him a lot in Rebels when Hera's an adult, and the greatest fighter pilot in the galaxy, and not only did Cham defend Ryloth and all in, he also modeled strength and he modeled freedom fighting and what it means to stand up for what is right. And and as we see Hera throughout Rebels, she clearly learned that from Cham. And also, we see that when Hera returns and has this conflict with her father, the conflict is centered around the fact that she believes that the fight should be against the galaxy, right? Like, let's fight for the galaxy. And Cham has been this, I'm only here for Ryloth, like small vision of the rebellion. And she shows him this bigger world, and he admits he's wrong. And then he becomes this new figure that's going to fight for the galaxy, not just for his home world. And Hera, while they have a bit of a strained relationship, she does care enough and love Ryloth enough that we see in Rebels she loves the art of her planet, and in the Kalikori that she loves, that's part of her she loves all of this heritage from Ryloth. And clearly, although we don't see a lot of him as a father of a child, clearly there was a lot of it there because he raised one of the great rebellion leaders in the entire Star Wars saga. And I know you love Hera, so you probably agree with that one somewhere along the line.
I do. I did not think of her dad in this equation, so well done.
Yeah, well, when you're a dad, you recognize dads a little differently, I suppose. I'll go to my number 3 since we're zigzagging through this. This is a really obvious one. I think this one is probably on your list. Din Djarin, the Mandalorian from Mandalorian plus Boba Fett. The new movie is out still currently in theaters. He's obviously a found father. He adopts Grogu, and you see that he's very protective of Grogu. That's obvious, especially early in the series. But how he really kind of adopts Grogu is interesting because it's clearly set up from the beginning of the series that he believes in two things: the Mandalorian way and the code of the guild. And he goes against the code of the guild to protect Grogu. And that leads to a huge battle scene and all of that. But and kind of we focus on the battle, right? But what we miss is like he is already Grogu's father before then because he goes against his guild code to protect him. And then he continues to protect him, but also at the end of season 2, right? When Luke shows up, like he turns Grogu over and says, yeah, go be with your kind as a force user, and lets him go, right? And and having older children than Harrison, I mean, you got to let go. They grow up, and then they have to go out on their own. They got to go to college. They got to get their own place. And Din Djarin doesn't want to do it, but knows it's necessary. Then prodigal son, sort of. Grogu comes back after being trained. He makes a choice. No, I'd rather be with Din Djarin, and then he accepts him back. Like, yep, you're a foundling now. And then again, at one point in I think season 3, he says to the some of the covert says, no, he's too young. He's not ready for training. And Din Djarin says, no, he can hold his own. Like he believes, yes, he's small, but he has powers and can hold his own. And so I think Din Djarin is a really, really great father figure.
Yeah, I agree. My number 3, like you said before, the ordering of these is tough. Maybe my 3, 2, and 1 are where I came into the hard part for me. Number 3 for me is Kanan Jarrus, and he is not a literal father at most of the time. We find out later that Hera is having a child that's his, but for the entirety of the uh, Rebels series, he is this mentor father figure with Ezra Bridger, and they've created this little family on the Ghost, right, with Zeb and Sabine and Hera. But Kanan really has to be the one in the absence of other Jedi to mentor Ezra, which makes him come to terms with his own powers and struggles and identity, which, parenthood makes us all do. And I think that Kanan is a great example of that. Like, how much of myself do I have to wrestle with so that I can be a good mentor, parent, advisor, master, in this case, to this kid. And so, Ezra comes with some rough edges, and Kanan has to be the, I don't know, father figure to him, and
Mhm.
and steps into that role, and then ultimately, sacrifices himself for that found family. And I think that's just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your number two?
My number two is Din Djarin. So all the same things that you said. I love the Mando and Grogu story. I do love that Mando, like, when he gives him to Luke at the end of that season, like, takes off his helmet and kind of sacrifices that commitment to, wearing his armor and stuff so that he can say goodbye. That's a beautiful scene, in my opinion. I also love when Grogu shows back up and that reunion happens. But yeah, I just agree with all the things you said about Mando.
Yeah, so fun fact, I just learned this recently also. Did you know, I didn't know it, or I did know it and I forgot it. Pedro Pascal is not the person in the suit when his helmet is on. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Oh man, that kind of burst my bubble.
Right. I was like, what are you talking about? Why, first of all, why would it not? I understood it like in the fight scenes, like they would have a body double who's like, a trained martial artist or stunt person or whatever. Like that didn't shock me. But why would you not just have Pedro Pascal do it when he's walking around being like tough or whatever? But the person in the suit, and not the fight scenes, but like just the body double, I guess, is the grandson of John Wayne, the Western actor. It's his grandson
Wow.
that's in the suit
That's
most of the time.
that's kind of an arbitrary connection.
Yeah, I mean, Mandalorian is a Western, so you used
Western.
a Western.
Yep.
Yeah, off
Wow.
we go. Interesting stuff. So your number
Yeah.
two is Din Djarin. Okay, great. So my number two is Hunter from the Bad Batch. You
Yeah.
mentioned Omega and you mentioned the Bad Batchers earlier, well, along with Cut. And Hunter is like a lot of these, like not necessarily a willing participant in fatherhood early on. They kind of just like, oops, she's there. And she becomes a part of the crew. And early on, they try to ditch her because like it's not safe for you here. And
Hmm.
she's stubborn. She always finds her way back to the group, finds a way to be a part of the thing. And over time, lots of the guy, not Wrecker, right? Wrecker is a child, just like Omega. Basically, they're more like
Hmm.
brother sister. But Hunter is the leader of the group. Tech is like super nerdy and always worried about that kind of stuff. And Echo is a surrogate Bad Batcher also because he was not an original Bad Batcher. And so Hunter is obviously the leader of the group and sort of becomes the de facto father. He becomes the protective element. He is the one that says, yes, she should learn to shoot. And he struggles with this in this like stressed out. I wonder if like the series was longer, if single girl dad kind of thing. Like there is no
Hmm.
female character, mother care. I mean, Omega's obviously a female, but I mean, from a motherhood
Hmm.
standpoint, like what happens as Omega ages and, he has to be this, like full house kind of thing where like, oh my gosh, we need a
Hmm.
woman. So I think Hunter's a great character overall. And I think he's a great father to Omega. Yes, he puts her in danger a lot, but a lot of the time she's put in dangerous situations. He tries to stop it or tried to prevent it, and she just she's a kid, and so she just finds her way out of curiosity. So Hunter is my number two. I'll go to my number one, which you've already mentioned, Kanan Jarrus. That's my number one. Ezra's father, and
Mm.
then also has his own son. He never meets his own son, but he and Hera do have a son named Jason, and that we see in the Ahsoka series. I think Kanan is a great father. Again, unwilling at first, really unsure of himself, and I think that's a father of staplehood. I when I first began, like, I can't do this. Why in the world did anybody let me become a father? But you figure it out along the way, and because Kanan has Jedi roots, but his training was never completed. And we see that at the beginning of the Bad Batch. And I think the first or second, really early in the first season, we see Kanan as a Padawan. And because of Order 66, his master is killed. And so Kanan grows up. Everything he learned either at a very early age in the Padawan process or kind of on his own from instinct. And he spent most of his adult life running and pretending he's not a Jedi. At the beginning of Rebels, he's not even willing to accept that he's a Jedi, because you're a Jedi, they're hunting you, you get murdered. And over time, he gains that. He gains that status and accepts Ezra as his Padawan, and they learn and they grow together in that. Of course, near the end of the series, he loses his sight and has to find a new way around things. And I think, that happens in fatherhood too, right? Like things are going great and then you get a curveball and you have to adapt. And one of the things we can teach our children is to pivot, to shift, to find that new way. That, Kanan has all of that grit that's like, we're going to find a way no matter what. And of course, at the very end of the series, sacrifices himself to save Kanan, to save the whole Ghost crew, really. I mean, he's Ezra's father figure, but also Zeb and also Sabine. It's Ghost Mom and Ghost Dad, or Space Mom and Space Dad, right? Kanan and Hera together. So I love Kanan Jarrus. He's one of my favorite Jedi. He's one of my absolutely top of the list father figure. And so I put him number one. Like you said, a lot of these could be interchangeable. Who you got on top?
I'm a little surprised that this didn't make your list. So that means either you didn't think about it or you're going to criticize me because I'm missing something about this person that makes him completely ineligible for this list. So I can't wait to hear where you take this. My number one, I am going with Bail Organa. And we see Bail throughout Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a senator, as a collaborating with Padme. Like Bail is all throughout almost all versions, I think, of Star Wars. But in the Obi-Wan series, we see little tiny Leia, who is this little adorable kid, and we've talked about her before, that they got like the perfect little actress
Oh, yeah.
to play Leia. But what we see in that series is Bail as just Leia's dad. And there is all this other stuff going on, of course, but Leia is this spunky little character that does not want to like wear the fancy shoes and the fancy dress and wave at the crowds, even though that's what she needs to do. And he is like most of the time. He is supportive, he protects her, he allows her to be herself. He has these like little one-on-ones with her where she's really honest with him about, not wanting to be a senator, and he tells her she's going to be a leader, and encourages, maybe to the point of pushy as some parents, some of us are, about his hopes for her future, but really encourages her strength and spunkiness and her adventurousness. And also, he really, in that series, especially, I think it's right at the beginning. It's probably at the beginning of season 1 even. She goes missing in that first couple of episodes, and he has to like plead with Obi-Wan for like worrying about Leia as much as he cares for Luke, or as much as he keeps an eye on Luke. And Bale has to kind of say to him, like, but what about her? But what about her? And yeah, I just kind of love the tenderness of that, and he is one in this list who, he adopts her, obviously, but he jumps in as soon as there is this baby girl, as soon as Padme gives birth and the Jedi are trying to figure out what to do. He says, "My wife and I will take the girl. We've always wanted a girl." He's wanted this, his wife has wanted this, and so jumps in, as opposed to some of these other guys that kind of like, just kind of came across a kid who needs a parent. So, yeah, Bail Organa is my pick for number one.
Yeah, I think you're swayed by the cheekbones of Jimmy Smits.
That could be.
I think he was on my short list for worst.
Oh,
I know that he
yikes.
accepts Leia at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and you're right. We've always wanted a little girl, and you're right about the tender moments. But if you were a really good dad, why do you call Obi-Wan and not just go after her yourself?
Because Obi-Wan's a Jedi
Because
and
you
you're
have
just a senator
he's
and not a fighter?
he's barely a Jedi. I mean, barely at that point. He's so disconnected from the Force. Like, come
Yeah.
on, he hide like, and we see this. In fact, one of the Star Wars podcasts that I listen to has these. They call them counters, where like every time something happens in Star Wars, they ding the counter, and they have a counter called the Bails counter, where like every time something bad happens, Bale finds an excuse not to be there. And I think this is another one like, oh well, but I'm important in government. I can't leave. I can't be seen chasing my daughter around. Like, oh come on, man, right? Like so. I don't know. We see at the end
All
of Revenge of the
right.
Sith when he lands on that platform, and they're like, "Oh, we think you should go, sir." He's like, "Yeah, cool. I'm out of here." When everybody then like that like 14-year-old Padawan Jedi jumps in and kills a bunch of clones. And what's Bale do? Jumps in his ship and runs. Right. So
He leaves.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
all right,
Bale
that's
Bale
fair.
is near my Bale is near my bottom. So but good for you. I mean,
Well,
Jimmy Smits, he does have great cheekbones.
I like little Leia, so maybe I just relate to the
A,
spunky little girl
Little
that,
Leia is probably
mm,
top
yeah,
5 Star Wars child. Absolutely. I would
yeah.
say that. Although I say that before actually having thought about it, when we have to like, we also have to count Omega. We also have to count, I mean, there's a lot. Anakin, like little Anakin. So
Ezra,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Ezra, I mean, he's a teenager when they find him or close to it.
yeah,
So anyway, all right, let's talk
yeah.
about the worst fathers in the galaxy far, far away. Why don't you go first?
How many can I have? Can I have like 3 or 4?
You can
Because
have
this was,
one, and then I'll do one, and then we could do
oh,
some negative honorable mentions after that.
can we have a lot of honorable mentions, man? There are a lot of terrible dudes in Star
Well,
Wars.
yeah. I mean, there has
Um,
to be evil. I mean, there has to be a dark side, right?
yeah, yeah. And maybe this one seems too obvious, and maybe that's why I want there to be more than one, because the one that I'm gonna say is my worst. I'm just maybe it seems too obvious. I'm going with Palpatine. I think he's the worst. He's supposed to be the worst. He is the worst. He makes the bottom of my list easily. He's manipulative and terrible, and it's a blip on the radar that he's even, the father, but yeah, I'm going with Palpatine.
Yeah, I didn't even think of him, partially because, like, he's only a literal father because of
For like 1 minute.
because of the sequel trilogy. Well, I mean, the whole ninth
Mm,
movie is Rey's grandfather, I guess, which means there was also whatever. Yeah, no, he's a terrible human being. And I mean, when you think about it a little deeper, he is a father figure to Anakin before Anakin becomes Vader. I mean, that's one of the reasons he becomes Vader, but
yeah.
he's a father to him in like hey, how you want some candy? Why don't you get into my van sort of way, which would make him a terrible father
Mhm.
figure. Like he does it over, cunning and guise and lies and that, yeah,
Manipulation.
manipulation. So
Yeah.
certainly worthy of the top choice. I think an easy answer is Anakin. Secret marriage,
Mhm.
secret pregnancy, murders the mother. Look, any father that murders the mother, probably not the best dad, tries to turn his son to the dark side, tries to, also, like, really, I only have one child. You have two. So you could tell me, like, it's really not great to have like a favorite child if you have more than one child, right? Like you try to treat them equally, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, we spend like 3 movies with Vader feeling and sensing Luke all over the place. And Leia's always there and he never senses Leia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe that's
Just
because
clueless.
Leia is not as connected to the Force at that point because she hasn't started to be trained. But the other argument there is Luke has only been trained for like 7 seconds by Obi-Wan before he gets murdered, right? And so, I don't know. I think
And Anakin is supposed to be so powerful and in tune with the Force that
I mean, he should sense
to miss that. Like,
I mean,
he's not new to the sensing of people.
Yeah, no, he should sense Leia, right? I mean, he should and doesn't. So I think that's an easy answer. Now, at the end, he does have the redemption arc. He comes back to Luke, but that's actually not my top one. I am going to go, and this is going to, we may get some hate mail for this. I'm going Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Great Jedi. I love Obi-Wan. Awesome. Like, love Obi-Wan, trained by Qui-Gon Jinn, which is another one of my favorite Jedi. So this is not Obi-Wan hate. This is Obi-Wan as a father figure hate. Obi-Wan was Anakin's master, and Anakin fell to the dark side, and Obi-Wan didn't stop it. Not only did he could not stop it, he didn't even really know it was happening. You want to talk about disconnection of father to child? You didn't sense that your Padawan was turning to the dark side? Your Padawan just became a Sith, and you had no idea. So, but I'll take it a step further. He knew Anakin was troubled and didn't know why and didn't investigate and didn't get him any mental health and just kept saying, like, may the Force be with you. Don't become attached. And he knew that Anakin was in love with Padme. He knew about all of that subconsciously and didn't deal with it. Gave him like these, like half truths and like, oh yeah. Meanwhile, could have come out at any point and said, by the way, I know what you're dealing with because I had a similar situation with Satine, and this happened, and here's what I did, and it was really tough to deal with. But think of, like, right, we should all have whether you're mother or father, we're talking about fathers, but you should have these conversations with your child. Like, listen, I know this is tough because I've been there. This was the perfect opportunity for him to do that. Okay. Let's go further. Let's go further. You mentioned the Obi-Wan series. When he's after Leia, he is awful with her. He is awkward. He doesn't know how to deal with her. He doesn't know what to do. Like, he is really awkward with this child. And then another one when he has, like, you get a second chance. Well, you screwed up with Anakin, you get a second chance. Now you screwed up with Leia, you get a third chance in A New Hope because now here's Luke begging for a mentor. And what does he tell him? Oh yeah, Vader killed your father. And then later, well, it was true from a certain point of view. And look, I'm not saying that we don't all lie to our children at some points because it's what's best for them to hear. But yeah, Obi-Wan is my worst father. Is that a shock to you?
It's a shock that he's the worst to you. He was in my bottom 5 for sure of worst. I think I do not have as much affinity for Obi-Wan as you do.
I love Obi-Wan.
I know you do, and he's fine. I feel maybe a little more to the neutral side of Obi-Wan. Even you mentioned how he is awkward and dismissive of Leia as a little Leia. He also is like a little bit hands off with Luke at that same age, like in that same part. Like he watches him from afar with binoculars. And
well, that's because
Owen, he's trying to be hands off.
Owen's making him be. I mean, every time he tries to take him the like model spaceship, right? And Owen's like, get out of here, like, we don't want any part of you. But so, I mean, part of that is because they're making him, I think he wants to be a part of Luke's life.
But also, he becomes very disconnected from the Force and kind of allows that disconnection to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were really passionate about protecting these two Force-connected children of the most powerful bad guy to exist, who, by the way, was your responsibility, then you would stay intensely connected to the Force yourself and be prepared when it all broke loose. So I, I
I
am
agree.
not
I agree, but
surprised that he's bad, but I didn't think he would be your I guess bottom worst. So
the main reason he disconnects himself from the Force is so that he can't be found by the Sith or by Inquisitors. Like the Inquisitors and the Sith, they're going to sense him. I mean, that's how a lot of the Jedi purge happened toward the end. After the first main purge, is they would fly near planets and see if they could sense the Force. And so that was one reason he turned it off, was to hide himself. It was camouflage, essentially, basically. So, all right, this was fun.
Yep.
Good list by both of us. We had some similarities and also some differences, which is what makes it fun, because
yeah,
if we all had the same list, then that would be kind of boring and I could just sit here and read through the list. But it was good to talk to you. So wish a happy Father's Day to Jason, and we'll talk to you again soon.
yeah. Happy Father's Day to you too. I hope you get to do something fun with Harrison.
Thanks.
Take care.
Harrison, welcome back. How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. You're very welcomed.
You are settling into summer break a little bit now. Your track is over. Cross country starts tomorrow.
Yeah, officially, yes.
As far as training goes, you've been doing a little running after your week and a half, about a week and a half off, kind of rejuvenate the body.
Off season doesn't really last too long in the running sports. So.
Yeah. Well, you can't lose all your fitness, and
exactly.
You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose it all. So, well, thanks for being here today. I think this was an idea actually from our fan mail months ago.
Okay.
Somebody had this idea, and maybe we twisted the idea, but it's something to do with this, and this is what we came up with. We're here to do top 10, top 5 each, bottom 2, bottom 1 each, Bluecoats Ballads. I think that was the idea. Somebody said Bluecoats shows, or it was something like that.
Yeah.
And we thought, the Bluecoats, just a lot of great ballads.
Yeah. Yes.
And so the discussion was, okay, but since when? The Bluecoats have been around for a very long time. In kind of looking at things, I decided, okay, 2011 to 2025. Obviously, we can't include 26. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We know what the song is because we have the list, but we don't know what it sounds like.
No.
On the field. But 2011 was a pretty good starting place. And then when I gave you the list, I also included 2 classics on the list.
Yes.
It's become their typical core repertoire. It's always in their encores. Yeah. Autumn Leaves, which is their core song.
Yes.
And then The Boxer, which is...
Those are both from the 90s originally.
Well,
Autumn Leaves might have been before that.
So Autumn Leaves, they first performed it in 1987, which was the first year that they made finals.
Yeah.
And then again, they did it again in 88, which was another finals year. They did it again in 98 when they did, it was like a Seasons of Jazz kind of thing. And so Autumn Leaves, then the Boxer was a little more recent. That was in their The Knockout show. 2008, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah, 7, I think.
Sometime around then. But, look, no shade to the 1995 Bluecoats. They weren't really relevant as a top flight.
Not like modern Bluecoats are.
Not modern Blue. This is not your father's Bluecoats. Literally, today is not your... When I was sneaking off at the Hall of Fame parade, hope my band director's not listening, but he died a little while ago, so he's not listening. But we used to do the Hall of Fame parade in Canton when I was in high school. First weekend in August, there at the NFL Hall of Fame, and the Bluecoats always did it because they were always in town for innovations in brass and things, so they always did it. And the drum line my high school drum line was supposed to go warm up.
Yes.
And like, yeah, go off over, you're in a city, so block away or whatever, warm up. And we would always go over a block, put our drums down, sneak another block over, and watch the Bluecoats warm up.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I used to ride my bike down to downtown Canton, to the Canton Boys and Girls Club, watch the Bluecoats rehearse in the fall. That was always really, really cool. So yeah, but they were, like I've said many, many times, well, they don't even wear blue and they don't wear coats. No, but the corps that wore coats was a second tier drum corps.
Yes,
they
for almost the entirety.
They were a ninth place
with the exclusion of 2, maybe 3 years. Anytime that they wore blue and coats, they were like exclusive, very mid.
So anyway, long story short, we're going 2011 to present plus those 2 classics.
Yes.
And 5 to 1 plus then our worst of these. And so we'll start with you with your number 5 Bluecoats Ballad.
Yeah. So to start, I want to preface that my favorite part of drum corps shows, traditionally, generally, is a ballad. I like the ballad the best out of, like, you really have like an opener, a development, a ballad, like a feature or another development section, and then a closer. And the ballad is my favorite part.
This is unusual for 16 and 17, 18-year-olds,
yes.
know? Like, ballads are boring, and they want the trumpet feature or the drum feature or the fast and stuff. But
ballads are nice, and they make me cry sometimes. And so I think that I have teared up at all 5 of the top, all of these ballads. Maybe not the first one, because it's not really that kind of ballad, but to all of them, we'll say that. This is my favorite part of a drum corps show. So 2 honorable mentions are both going to be the classics. They're not in my top 5. Autumn Leaves and The Boxer are great, but they also play them every year, and so they don't have the same hitness to them, because they are core songs, so they play them everywhere they go, and that's great, and that's really cool, and they're great arrangements and pieces, and they mean a lot, but they're not as good in the context of the shows they're in. My number 5 is from their 2025 program, The Observer Effect, and it is Dream State. This is a Sun Lux song, the source music is, which they did sort of a 2-year team up with Sun Lux. That's a band. They create sort of just very alternative pop music, very modernish. Fits the Bluecoats sound really well. This song in particular is the original source music. The song Dream State comes in 3 versions in an album called Dream State that is just those 3 songs. And it's Dream State, Dark Day, and Dream State, Brighter Night. And Dream State, the first one, is kind of in the opener of their show, and then Brighter Night is the ballad, and then Dark Day is kind of a tuba feature, and then they go back to the original at the end. And so it's kind of the very through line of the show, and the ballad is where it comes out the most. It's also mixed with a song by M83 that's really cool. That's where all the bass stuff comes from, and it's very similar to something they did one of the times they won a championship in 2016, where it starts with a slow solo, in this case a trombone solo, and then it kind of builds, and then there's kind of a pause, and then another build, and then big full core hit with trumpet solos in the front. And it's just a really crazy way to do it. And then like those big hits happen, and it's just a rock out section, and then it kind of just dies and it goes back to the soloist, and that's the ballad. And I think that's such a perfect way to contain that section of the show.
I could listen to the trombone soloist all day.
His tone is so good.
That's so
nice.
Just so warm and lovely, and just singing.
Yeah, and good trombone is so good.
And like when I was doing my list, it's like any of these could be on the top 5. When you start to look at like 11 to 26, minus you, of course, you didn't have a show in 20, so
yeah.
But like there are so many.
Yes.
Good, this was so hard to do. So my number 5 is going to go 2015. I think this was an underrated show. I think this was an underrated ballad. It was sandwiched between Tilt, which had its epicness to it, and 2016, which was a championship year with Downside Up.
Arguably 2 of their most iconic shows.
Yeah, and this was sandwiched in the middle, and I don't think it got the credit it deserved at the moment. The ballad was Woods. First of all, the whole show, like, go back and watch this if you haven't in a while. There are, and you got to know about, they were setting up all of the electronic stuff that they're still doing, like with the chain thing that they're doing now. This was all looping.
Yes.
So like there's all these echo reverb loops in the trumpets, and all of that is happening underneath this gorgeous, gorgeous ballad.
Yeah.
And, they're wearing traditional uniforms. This is the last time that they wore traditional uniforms. So that's like feels very old for them. But the ballad is just by far my favorite part of that show.
Yeah.
Just a really, really, really great ballad. Just crazy town.
Yes.
Especially when you know that what's underneath it is electronic loops.
Yeah.
Like it's not the
live
trumpet.
loops too.
Yeah, live loops. Just so way, 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 way cool. So I'll go to my number 4, a little more recent than that, 2024, from Changes Everything, another Sun Lux.
Yes.
This is, how did I put this number 4? It's a perfect ballad. It's got that solo, builds to a thing, builds to the full. I also, this is the Chaos Theory show. The drums kind of interrupt.
Yeah.
That's the beginning.
The muted drum sticks.
Yeah, that's the initializing element in the whole chaos before the show falls apart.
Yeah.
They've got, the big hit, the chorus spread like 1-to-1, 99-yard spread. And they do the wavy thing, fast feet, slow music. It's just got all of the hard things. Perfect playing, perfect music, perfect hit. Love that ballad. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is I'll share my 4 and 3. You just were talking about 2015 being sandwiched between 2 iconic shows.
Yeah.
One of the shows it's sandwiched between is their 2014 show Tilt. Lots of people's favorite Bluecoats show. The ballad of that show is Hymn of Axiom. You probably, if you don't know Tilt off the top of your head as a listener, you probably don't know this song just by title. If you have been to any marching band contest ever, and you go listen to the ballad of this show, you'll be like, oh, I've heard that before like 5 times. Yeah. Anywhere you go, you're going to hear it. That's how iconic it is.
Yeah, not a year goes by that I don't always end up with it, but not a year goes by where a client doesn't say, what about Hymn of Axiom?
Yes.
It also made Vienna Tang like a mainstream in the marching arts.
But yes, that ballad is going to be my number 4. I think it's great. I think that because it's so iconic and because everybody just kind of takes it, and a lot of the arrangements that you hear are really just the Bluecoats arrangement done slightly different orchestration-wise. Yeah, but that's a great ballad. It's all-time classic. Just that show in general. The fact that all of their guiding is to the orange tarp and not to the actual sideline. Incredible.
Pitch bend is in there.
Yes, iconic. Number 3, though, is one that you already had at your 5, and that's Wood's Bon Iver. That's the 2015 ballad from Kinetic Noise. I have had this take for a while now that I like Kinetic Noise better than Tilt, period. I like 2015 better than 2014. 90% of people are going to disagree with me because 90% of people have only seen Tilt. Most people that are like base surface level drum corps fans are going to watch 14 and 16 because it's the one with the pitch bend and it's the one that they won, and just skip the one in the middle because what's Kinetic Noise? I've never heard of it. It's better. It's cooler. The music is harder. I think the looping stuff is cooler than the pitch bend. I think the ballad is better than the ballad. I think it's overall cleaner. I think what they're doing visually in that show, you can tell why they went away from the traditional uniforms after that. It looks like their hats are going to like fall off. Like they're trying to do stuff that you just can't do in a uniform like that, which is why part of the reason why they went away from it. But specifically the ballad is so beautiful. You didn't mention this too. They have the looping trumpet thing under the whole ballad while the corps kind of plays the verse and the chorus from the actual song. And there's also a trumpet soloist on the backfield, unmiked, playing to the corner of the stadium. Mm-hmm. And so even in the recording, it's really just like background noise that your brain like almost gets rid of, but it just adds such a cool layering because you have this looping trumpet thing that almost becomes like white noise, and then you add on the actual core, which is the thing you're supposed to be listening to, and then you add on this like screamer in the background that you can kind of hear but kind of can't, and it just communicates this idea of the sound constantly being in motion and the emotion of the moment being so strong. It's just, it's so good.
You mentioned tilt and kinetic, the differences between tilt and kinetic noise. I think you're right. I think the idea with tilt was so basic and simple and obvious.
Yes.
Things are tilted, pitches are bending. I don't have to understand it. I remember them early in the season after they reviewed kinetic noise, before they released the explanation, and it was like a 4,000 word document about the nature of acoustics and noise. And I thought it was super cool, and I loved kinetic noise from the first, but I don't think it's a show that the average layperson watches and goes, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I think what they have done between 2015 with kinetic noise, which was a very difficult scientific concept, much like the observer effect, chaos theory, etc. But from 2015 to 2025, 24, 25, what I think they did was figure out how to do a really thick, deep scientific concept, but people still get it. They don't have to get it to get it.
Yeah, it's because they've focused more on the emotional side of it, I think, now. And like last year in the observer effect, it's about this idea of like quantum entanglement and how two particles on the opposite side of an object can impact each other, even though there's this immense amount of space between them comparative to how big they are.
Right.
And so throughout the show, you see these interactions between the side chaining, and the drum line is on one corner and the brass is on the other corner, and they're directly impacting each other. Or there's visuals all the time. There are duet body visuals where they're dancing one-on-one and they're directly impacting each other's movements. And like, you have that, but you also have the direct impact between the core and the audience. And that's the thing that they spend the most time on. Isn't, well, let's focus on, the acoustics and kinetic noise, versus let's focus on the emotion of how people impact each other through the idea of a scientific concept. Later versus actually trying to present a scientific concept. It doesn't work as well in the second way.
Right. The loneliness of the thing, or the excitement.
Yeah, exactly.
The excitement of the chaos, not
the beauty and the peace.
What the contact, what chaos
Peace
is.
and chaos, yeah.
So, great. Number 3, you did your number 3 already.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was the same as my 5. Number 3, I really struggled. Do I put this on? Do I not put this on? I am, I'm not. I am, I'm not. And if there's one tune that I get asked to arrange more than Hymn of Axiom, it's Creep.
Yeah.
2011, the show was Brave New World. The ballad is the opener, Creep, and it's my number 3. And it's not my number 3 because the performance was really that great.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
fine. Yeah.
It's fine. The visual is kind of weird. But here's why. I think that being the opener in 2011 Brave New World, I think that is the first moment where the Bluecoats began to become relevant.
Yeah.
In the top echelon. Like, people started to notice that show was really a pretty good step forward of design-wise overall.
The first time they really said something.
Yeah.
Like, they really wanted to make an actual statement, not just play a drum corps show.
And it was kind of a slow burn. You also have Unmasked in there, which is a really great show. Imagine, which was a really great show. I think it was around this time that Doug Thrower came on board. I don't know the exact same year, so that helps. And kind of they were assembling this staff that would become a championship staff just 5 years later in this case. But Creep was also not a ballad. It's a Radiohead, not a ballad song.
Yeah.
And so they turned it into a ballad. It was like a lot of, wow, okay, the Bluecoats are maybe going to do something here. So I got it number 3 just because I think it signaled the beginning of the future.
Yes, I agree.
Number 2, I'm going even more classic. I know you didn't put a classic on here, but I'm putting Autumn Leaves on.
Okay. No, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not upset at that at all.
For one thing, it is a beautiful, beautiful ballad.
Yep.
It's a great, very simple arrangement of it. It was part of the show the first time they made finals, and the second time they made finals, and 98, which was like Seasons of Jazz or something, which I think they were, I don't know, probably 7th or 11th or something like that.
Yeah.
But, they've never played it in a absolutely knock in the doors show. I'd love to hear them in 2028. Like if in 2 years, that would be like the 40th anniversary of their first finals. Find a way to include Autumn Leaves. That would be
SCV Points and then the Clowns.
Yeah.
They just put in 2 measures of it.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. And so, obviously it's become their core song. It's a crowd favorite. It's an alum favorite. and even I think probably the old crotchety alums that are like, the electronics are too loud, they don't wear coats, they're not blue, still probably gets a little thump in their throat when they hear
for
Autumn
sure,
Leaves.
yeah.
So that's my number 2. What about you?
My number 2 is one that I would not be surprised if is not on your top 5 at all. This is a show that you are not a huge fan of, but I liked when it came out and has aged with the general audience a lot since it was touring, and has aged with me very well also since touring. It's from 2023, The Garden of Love, which is a show it's based on a poem, which is about sort of loving each other instead of actually using like religion and things just to hate people. And so it's the story of how do we love each other, how do we love through music, how do we love through audience core relationship, really the start of that storytelling that they've liked to do. And the ballad occurs in this sort of dark space in the poem where they're in the narrator is in a space that used to be a garden, and it's no longer a garden. Now it's filled with graves and tombstones where flowers should be. And there's priests in black gowns, and they're trying to persecute them just for being there because it's not where they're supposed to be. The chapel says, "Thou shalt not," and he feels persecuted. And, like, this is supposed to be a garden. Why does it feel like this? And this ballad comes from a place of like almost despair at the beginning. The beginning of the ballad is 45, another Bon Iver song. The beginning of the ballad is a flugelhorn trombone duet. The flugel is being pumped through kind of a synth to add chords to the bottom of the flugel, but other than that synth patch on top, the flugelhorn and the trombone, nothing happens. Literally, if you watch the high cam, the field commanders stop conducting and sit on their podiums, and like the pit just turns around and watches the corps. Nothing happens. No hands. It's all to the sound of the soloists. It's this moment right away that just sucks the entire audience in, even 3 years later watching it, where you're just immediately enthralled in what the ballad is taking you story-wise. When the hands come back in, when the pit comes back in, and you think there's going to be this big hit, and it's not really. It's like mezzo piano when the full corps comes in. And it's like clearly the melody, it's clearly the chorus of the song just by the way it's written, but it's not very loud. And they like all make this movement away from the priests at once. And then that's the hit where they play fortissimo or whatever it is, loud. And it goes from kind of quiet and subdued to extremely loud and wide all at once. And then the flugelhorn plays a high C at the end, which is just like cherry on top of the most delicious cake you've ever eaten. And it's like, it's so perfect. It's such a perfect moment. It's so perfect in the show with the narration around it, with the meaning behind it. It's one of the most emotional moments, maybe the most emotional moment the Bluecoats have ever incorporated into a drum corps show. It's really special.
I love the hit in that
Yes.
ballad for sure. For me, it takes a little long to get to that hit. That's why it's not in my top 5. But the unison body movement during the hit
Yes.
is really hip.
Yeah.
Like, it's not incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It would have been to clean with all of the, but yeah, I love the
Yeah.
big hit in that ballad. It's a great ballad. And not you're right, not my favorite show. So now we're down to number 1 here. And so what's your number 1 favorite, best Bluecoats ballad since 2011?
In 2016, I was not watching drum corps yet. I was 8 years old during the season. Freshly 8 years old when the season started.
You were being stupid. You hated ballads back then.
I didn't love band as an activity. I didn't really care for marching band or drum corps. Barely even knew what drum corps was. I knew that there was like a marching band-ish thing that you like to watch sometimes, and that mom always made me leave the house when you were watching it because I got annoying. And so like I was not involved, but I know through hindsight and now that I'm involved how important Downside Up is to what drum corps is today. Nobody wears costumes like that in 2016. They don't. They wear uniforms like the Bluecoats sit in 14-15. That's what you're supposed to do as a drum corps. And they were just like, and didn't do that at all. And like, now those uniforms are not really that great. Like if you look back at them now, if a corps came out wearing that in 2026, you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because they're a little outdated, but like they're so sick for when you think about it. And the ballad of this show is revolutionary for ballads. In this show that is revolutionary in marching style and in music style and in design in general, the ballad itself is also revolutionary. Because when you go to a marching band contest or a drum corps show and you hear all these ballads that are quiet solo with pit under it after a transition with like trombones or some low instrument, and now there's a solo, and then the solo ends and there's a ba-dum, ba-dum, and there's a big hit, and then a big hit goes on and they groove out for a while and then it goes away and then the solo recaps and then we're done. Like you see that everywhere. It's just it's what ballads look like now.
Yep.
And it was not always what ballads looked like for everyone, and it is because Great Gig in the Sky and Downside Up in 2016 turned it downside up. And it is the wink is in there. That's a whole other story. Did it at prelims and they didn't win, and so he was like, I'm not doing it at semifinals, and then they won semifinals and they were like, you have to do it at finals, and so he does it at finals and the crowd goes crazy. And like just the whole thing, the moment that it encapsulates as their first championship, the writing is incredible. It's not just like a pep band version of the Pink Floyd song, it's like it's real.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you said what's the name of the song.
No, Great Gig in the Sky.
Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd. So we saw this show, your mother and I think you were at church camp. We saw this show in the theater on opening night, middle of June or whatever. They used to do the Detroit opening thing. And, they start this show out behind the props. You see nothing.
Yeah.
And then they, like, the snare drum pops up on top of the prop, starts clapping, and that's the beginning of the show. And when they're done, like, then the corps proper comes out, no instruments, flying around, does 30 seconds of body in no hats.
Clapping.
It was like all this thing. And that show for that first couple of days, first week, got so much hate.
Yes.
And I still have a screenshot of it, or I can get one in a couple of weeks when we get to that date. I said on Facebook after that night, I don't care if they're not wearing hats and coats. That's going to win. That's the show, man. That's the future of drum corps. And people called me nuts and, oh, you're blood Homer. Like, well, look back 10 years later.
Yeah.
I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, this is my number one too. It's the song. It was a song everybody knew, and they did it a little different enough. It also had trombone glisses just to beat just the best. It has the wink. It had and you're right again about the format. Solo, jam session, solo.
Yeah.
And again, not to make this the When I Write a Ballad segment, but at this point, if I don't write a ballad with that format, like solo, woodwind moment, full band solo, like the band director goes, well, can you put in like a solo and then like it's give the people what they want.
Yes.
But it has become it's become iconic, and obviously it won a big part of what won the Bluecoats their first championship in 2016. And love that moment. I think one of the things that sets it also apart from other Bluecoats ballads, when you look at our list, the Woods and things from Sun Lux and nobody, Hymn of Axiom. Nobody'd ever heard of those songs.
Yes, until they did it.
Unless you're a Bon Iver fan, or, Creep is the exception. People knew Creep. Everybody
Obviously,
knew Creep.
Yes.
But, the Bluecoats are known the last 15 years, maybe-ish, give or take, for finding the songs that lots of people don't know and bringing them at least into the drum corps community as quote unquote new artists.
Yes.
And I'm sure hardcore fans knew about Sun Lux before. I didn't know about Sun Lux.
They did movie soundtracks before they went to Bluecoats, so.
I knew a little.
They did Marvel soundtracks, so.
I knew a little about Vienna Tang before Hymn of Axiom, but they just always are finding the new thing, and obviously Pink Floyd was not that. Like,
very clearly.
The rest of that show you wouldn't have known before that year.
Great Gig in the Sky might be one of like 3 Pink Floyd songs I've ever actually heard.
Yeah, Great Gig in the Sky. Great moment. I'll go with my worst. We've celebrated 10, well, not 10 because we had some duplicates, but 10 great Bluecoats moments. I don't even know what the song is. This is my least favorite Bluecoats show of any Bluecoats probably show ever. It's from 2018. It was called Session 44.
The ballad is the best part of that show.
It was an anniversary show. It was a lot of like Billie Holiday stuff or whatever. Too much singing, too big prop. Like it had the big chair props and just, I don't like that show at all. It's the only Bluecoats show in the last 15 years I wouldn't just sit down and watch just for funsies. In fact, if you put it on, I'd probably get up and leave because I just do not like that show.
I don't hate it that much. I think it's okay. I think it has redeeming qualities.
So I'm going ballad from 2018. That's my least favorite.
Yeah.
What's yours?
My least favorite is not actually the one that I think is the worst. I did like a whole list of all of them. I think the worst one to me is the one from 2012 because it's just not memorable at all. I'll listen to it and then like 30 seconds later could not sing you the melody.
First of all, I like that. That's Unmasked. The show was Unmasked. That was the name of the show. It had a lot of Masquerade from Phantom of the Opera mixed in, and then a big hit. The idea was we all wear masks, and between the we're hiding things like pain and abuse and suffering and addiction and things like that, and that we should remove our masks, show our true selves, and that starts the healing process. Yeah. The ballad was called Love Dance from Ka, which is like a Broadway Cirque du Soleil kind of thing. I kind of like that ballad though. But I agree.
That's my pick for worst, but not my least favorite.
Oh.
My least favorite is from 2017, Jagged Line. I like Jagged Line a lot. I think the thing that is the biggest issue with Jagged Line is that they just got a little bit too ambitious kind of across the board. Go listen to a lot video of Grow Till Tall from 2017 from Jagged Line. And like that is a top 5 ballad from the Bluecoats. Right as they're starting to crescendo to the climax of the hit, the entire core turns around and faces the furthest away from the audience they can, and all of the sound that's going to the audience is coming from the speakers at the front of the field from one microphone in the end zone. Why? Why are we doing that?
I agree. There were a lot of design issues for sure.
I think it's fun. I think all of the music is good, and I think the visual package is cool. It's just too hard.
But then again, I can't think of who's the artist for Grow Till Tall.
Couldn't tell you.
I can't think of it. But most of that show, there's a little bit of Frank Zappa in there, which is somebody you would have known. But most of that show, they were doing Thank You Scientist, the prog rock band group, which that was the first time that they did like, let's do music together. I remember they had Thank You Scientist like at camp, and they did a concert and did a whole collaboration thing, which now they've also done with Sun Lux and etc. But so I'm with you. That was not a great ballad, but I love the Psycho Pomp. Hey, thanks for interesting, lively discussion. Thanks for spending all this time to research and watch Bluecoats Ballads. I know that's a stretch for you to have to sit down and watch Bluecoats Ballads.
Yeah, not really. I knew most of these pretty well off the top of my head already. So
yes, but I will say you had one list, and then you actually watched the shows.
Yeah,
and
changed by a couple.
Yeah,
Creep was on my list originally, and then got knocked off when I rewatched 2025, and I knocked it off for Dream State.
Yeah, I think that's a fair trade. So, hey, have a good rest of your night. We will talk to you soon. Well, hey, Matt, happy birthday.
You know, I think this has probably been the best birthday I have ever had.
This one?
This one.
Wow. Why? What? Why is it so good?
Mostly because, like, today's date is all even numbers.
It is all even numbers. Very good.
Yeah. I mean, the day that we recorded it, not, the day we released it. But.
Well, they got half a chance of it being even. If they're listening to it in June, if it's in July, 0 chance. And
that's true.
I mean, it depends. These things are up forever. Once you say something on the internet, it's forever is what they say.
Oh, really?
Also, happy Father's Day.
Oh yeah.
By the way, that's coming up
That's right.
this week
Yeah.
for the purposes of this recording.
I can celebrate that now. I mean, I have the last couple of years, but
Yeah,
obviously,
well, yeah,
okay.
you had I mean, you were father last year. 2
Yeah.
years ago, it
Yeah.
was sort of an in utero
Right.
pre-Father's
Right, yeah.
Day, but yeah, you get the second one around, and we are in honor of Father's Day. We're drinking some old fashions
Classic.
today, a classic cocktail. I mean, I don't even think I'd have to think. My favorite bourbon cocktail. Lots of people's favorite bourbon cocktail is an old fashioned. I think when you think bourbon cocktails, old fashions at the top of pretty much everyone's list. What is it about an old fashioned that's so appealing to you?
Well, for me, I like citrus. So to be able to have that little hint of citrus, from the orange peel or
Yeah.
the expressing of the orange peel, as
Yeah.
some may say, like it gives it a nice difference with the bourbon.
Yeah, I like the complexity of flavors. You have the citrus, you have the spirits, you have the syrup, gives it a little sweet. You got a little bit of everything all packed into one. There's just so many layers. I like making mine at home. We'll talk about ingredients and how to make an old fashioned here, but I love a maple syrup in my old fashioned, and also a smoked old fashioned.
Smoked is good.
I mean, that
Smoked is
is
good.
smoked is peak.
You know what would surprise you? Now,
A lot of things would surprise me.
I understand that this isn't necessarily your go-to place, but a couple weeks ago I went to Cheesecake Factory and got their old fashioned, and it was good.
It's on page 4,000 of the menu.
You know what? I didn't even look. I just ordered it.
Ordered it.
They have a bar, so I'm sure they're going to make an old fashioned.
Right. I still remember the old fashioned we had at the Weber Grill this past fall.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That might be my favorite old fashioned that I've ever had. So obviously bourbon in an old fashioned. What else? How do we make an old fashioned?
Well, you have obviously the bourbon, like you said, and then you have some sort of sweetener. Some people will do a simple syrup. They'll put regular just simple syrup in it. Like you said, you can use maple syrup, some sort of sweetener. I have tried it with putting a sugar cube in the bottom, and then putting the Angostura bitters on top of that. Bitters just kind of is another flavoring ingredient.
Yeah.
Putting that on it, and then using a muddling tool to muddle the sugar with the bitters.
Right.
And then pouring your bourbon in on that, putting the ice in, and then finishing it off with an orange peel.
Orange peel or cherry?
Or cherry.
I love an orange peel. That's a hard thing to have just in the house, like to have an orange, just to have the peel, and then you have an orange that you took part of the peel off of. So
Yeah.
I prefer cherries.
And I've also seen, because they have the specific cocktail cherries that you can get. They also do have little orange slices that are in like a, it's not marmalade, but it's orange slices that are in sort of a syrup.
Just in a syrup,
that
yeah.
gives you the
Check
citrus
that out.
flavor. It's pretty good.
Yeah, the best thing about the cherries is that you can eat the cherry at the bottom. It sort of sits there and gets happy in the bottom of the glass. I guess you could eat the orange peel too. Probably not. I don't know.
I mean, that probably wouldn't be the happiest of endings with a cocktail.
Probably not. So, yeah. Do you have a favorite bourbon to put in an old fashioned?
At Cheesecake Factory, I had them use a Bullet Rye.
Yeah.
I sometimes like to have a rye just to have the spice to offset the sweetness.
Yeah, it's got a little more bite to it that
Yeah.
way. Yeah. I don't have a preference necessarily. I mean, when I'm out and they always ask you what kind, I usually just say Woodford just because I like Woodford or whatever. But I don't think brand necessarily matters, but definitely you can taste the difference between a wheated or a rye or there's definitely a difference there. If you want something with a little more wide bandwidth then you would definitely want to go rye because that balances out the sweet. If you just want to stay a little more like sweet, then go with something that's a wheated bourbon. So, hey, this is also, not only is it Father's Day, not only is it Old Fashioned Day, it is also our 10th episode of our 4th season. Can you believe that? Can you believe when we started this last July? I remember texting you early July, and I said, I think I want to start a podcast. And I had told a couple of people, kind of bounce it off, just kind of toss it out. Sometimes you have this crazy idea, you just throw it out there into the universe and see what happens.
See if it sticks.
And if you're like, well, what? And you immediately were like, well, let's do it. Let's go.
I mean, I feel like we had already had our
our
own podcast going on, just
Yeah.
nobody else was privy to listen to.
Yeah, people ask all the time, how do I make the podcast? And one of the questions is like, do you script things? And the band stuff I talk, the interviews I do mostly they're not scripted, but the questions are there. The skeleton is there. Then the conversation is natural. When we talk Star Wars, it's pretty much scripted, or at least very, very bullet pointed specific. And they ask like how you and I managed to script this. Let's
It's cute that they think that it is.
let's pull back the curtain a little bit today. So let's read the entire script planning session for tonight's podcast.
Which is so weird because I think there's nobody else in this entire area that plans anything more than you and I.
Right. I mean, I'm known as a planner and an organizer. So so here we go. I texted you. It was 11:15 this morning. Hey, do you have time for a podcast tonight before you leave for the week? Yes, tonight. Tonight is perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's do 2 episodes. Fatherhood, old fashions, plus bourbon and Coke, and some other topic we'll figure out along the way. Sounds good to me.
That's it.
That's it. That's the script. So
That's it.
So no, we don't script this. We don't script this at all. But we started brainstorming. Well, what would we talk about? Well, I don't know. Let's just sip bourbon and talk about bourbon, and then whatever. And it has really become that. It's been just something neat with Matt is a fan favorite.
Which I mean, tying it into the whole experience with bourbon. Like if you're gonna go have a cocktail or a drink with a friend, like that's how it should be.
Yeah, you don't script it out.
Now I will say some of the most genius things I've ever seen is when there's a group of dads that will go hang out or whatever once a month, and they have an agenda where they talk about the downfall of the Pirates baseball, but then they talk about fantasy football drafting. I think that's cool. But
yeah, I'm all about the agendas and the planning, but sometimes it's nice just to wing it. Like you said, the last 15 years of our lives have been a podcast that just nobody's listened to, and we decided to clip on some microphones, and
here we are.
Here we are. Here we are. So while we're here, since it's our 10th episode of the season, we got to do a top 10 C&C style. So top 5, bottom 1 of fatherhood. That was a topic I did, by the way, tell you we were going to do this weeks ago. So it's not scripted, but I do try to clue you in. We kind of discussed the things that we're going to talk about. So I thought this would be interesting because I'm a father of 18 years. Harrison just turned 18. Isla is not quite 2, coming up about a month from 2, right?
She'll be 2 before I'm 32.
So very different perspectives on fatherhood. 2 decades versus 2 years, almost. So so we're going to go 5 to 1, top 5 things each. That'll give us 10, and then we'll do our bottom, our least favorite thing about fatherhood. Sound good?
That's fine with me. Let's do
All right,
it.
so I'll start with my number 5. Number 5 best thing about fatherhood is always being able to beat him at things like Madden, driveway basketball, ping pong, just whatever. Just assert the father dominance on the little one. I even when he was 6 and we played. People say, you should let your child win. I let him win games up until about the age of 4. And then no more. Block the basketball in his face. Even still today, if we went out today, I would find a way to beat the snot out of him. I remember when he got NBA 2K or one of the NBA basketball games for the PlayStation, I think. And I'd never played it. And so he would just whip my butt. Well, he has to go to bed early back then. And so I would stay up and play and practice until I could kick his butt. And eventually, yes, I did it. And no, we'd play Madden, and he would always play on defense. He would always select the cornerback and then bring the cornerback up to the line of scrimmage, leaving no mercy.
course.
I would throw it to that wide receiver how do you keep throwing 80-yard touchdowns? I don't know.
You
So that's my number 5 thing, being able to assert fatherhood dominance. What's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is 1,000% selfish. My number 5.
It's Father's Day. We're allowed to be selfish.
My number 5 favorite thing, and that's why I made it number 5, because that's where it deserves to be, is because she was perfectly healthy when she was born.
Yeah.
The amount and quality of sleep that I got the night that she was born. Because the nurses take her away.
Yeah.
They're taking care of her. I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
So I laid down on our little 1/8-inch mattress and
Terrible place to sleep.
I slept.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the last night of sleep that you're going to get.
Yeah, for a long time it is.
For a long time.
Yeah,
It
for
was
a
great.
long time. There's a great episode of The Office when Jim and Pam have their first baby, Cece, I think is the name of the baby. And the nurse says, well, we'll take her to the nursery now. And they say, well, why would you do that? Leave him in the room. And the nurse says, well, a lot of times, that first night you'd like to get sleep. And then, no, leave her here. And then 2 hours later, they regret it. Okay, my number 4. My number 4 is, because he's a little older now, and this is probably 14 or 15, I started realizing that you can have mature conversations with him about like politics, deep religion, things that matter, like those kinds of conversations, and that he has his own opinions, and while his opinions are based generally on his mother and I, because he lives in our house and therefore is going, but he's also influenced by other things, and he can have those opinions, and even though some of them are stupid, but they're his opinions, and just being able to have those conversations with a person that you used to wipe his butt is pretty cool thing about fatherhood. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is not as deep.
That's okay.
It's different facial expressions anytime she tries a different food. Like the way she either is like, okay, this is ice cream. I like ice cream. And then, okay, this is a lemon. I don't like lemons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to a Mexican restaurant when Harrison was about that age and got a water with a lemon, and he really wanted that lemon. Okay.
Here you go.
He did not want that lemon.
You ain't gonna like this.
I remember that when I was younger, and my mom was a big baker, and so you use vanilla, like extract, right? And I thought, vanilla? It's vanilla. And I wanted to try it, and I asked. She goes, "No, it tastes terrible. It doesn't taste anything like vanilla because it's super concentrated." Well, I didn't believe her. Okay, go for it. My mom was the okay, go for it kind of mom sometimes. Not about dangerous stuff, but like that. Sure, here you go. Oh my God.
Here's a spoonful. Well, so
Gross.
A childhood story of mine. I went to the refrigerator one time and got out what I thought was a can of pop, and opened it up. And took a big swig of it because it was Phil and I had been playing outside, and so I came in, was really thirsty, started drinking it, and I got probably half of it down, and then I tasted it, and it tasted terrible, terrible.
Yeah.
Now I say this, and it's going to make Mom and Dad sound like they were alcoholics. Mom loved. She went through a spell of love. She loved making beer chicken, where you stick the can of beer in the chicken. Yeah. Well, she had a couple cans of outdated Budweiser in the refrigerator, and that was what I chose to open up and chug as a 7-year-old.
Longtime listeners of the podcast have heard that story before. Number 3. Are we on number 3?
Yeah.
Number 3 is this is as he gets older, being able to teach him and educate him about things that matter and will matter forever. and I don't mean walking and talking and going to the bathroom by yourself. Yes, those are things that definitely matter, but like ethics, budgeting, how to save money, decision-making policies, those kinds of things that are going to be with him, hopefully in a good way, forever, so that when he's a fully fledged adult, he's in his 40s or his 50s, he still knows how to create a budget and put some money aside for a rainy day and those sorts of things. It's been a really cool part. I've even taken him a couple of times to our financial planner when we do our yearly annual like retirement sort of thing, so that he can just sit in on that conversation. And our financial planner does a really nice job with kids where he does a little presentation like, well, if you started saving this much now at the age of 10, here's how much you would have when you're 60 and you retire, and it's like just some exorbitantly ungodly number. And so that's pretty cool. It's been a pretty cool thing. I've really enjoyed that. Number three,
adult mannerisms. Like she'll just be sitting there and cross her legs and watch TV.
Yep.
Or, I remember one time she was like, I had her propped up on the couch, and something would happen and she would just kind of glance over at me and then keep looking at the TV.
Yeah.
Like anything that an adult would do.
Yeah. WTF, man.
Yeah.
I remember we have a picture of Harrison from about age 2 or 3 sitting on the couch with his legs crossed and his hands folded behind his head watching TV. And of course he's wearing like Lightning McQueen pajamas or something, but he looks like a 50-year-old man, except the size of the body and the clothes. But, just propped up like, probably how I sit and watch TV is probably where, that's where they all get the best things.
In your Lightning McQueen pajamas?
Yeah, my Lightning McQueen. You'll find in fatherhood the best things and the worst things that she has in her mannerisms and they're all from you, bro.
I tell everybody she's got my personality.
You'll go, why does she do that? That's so annoying. And somebody in your life is going to go, you do that.
Yeah.
She got that from you. She learned, there was this really old TV commercial from when I was probably 10 or 12. It was a Nancy Reagan mid-80s anti-drug campaign where the dad comes into the boys' room and he's like 16 and he has found pot in the boys' room or wherever, and he says, where'd you get this? Where'd you learn this? And the son looks at him and says, I learned it by watching you. And it was like, parents who use drugs have kids who use drugs. And I don't mean that I was going to use drugs, because I know you don't, but all of the best things they get from you, and all of the worst things they also get from you. I'll go to number 2. I remember when he was little, this was not the case, but now it is. Having shared interests that we can naturally talk about together. Drum corps, Star Wars, and these are things that are he can love all the way through adulthood if he chooses. Running has been one of those things that we got into at about the same time. I was a little ahead of his curve, but he started that next summer in cross country going into 7th grade. And so, our running journeys have been, although he is much faster, but so all of these like adult things, when you're a child, you endure a lot of like stupid, inane TV shows and the same movie 75 days in a row. And then when they get to be, you get rewarded by them loving Star Wars and drum corps. And then having him on this podcast on occasion has been a really cool thing too. So what's your number 2?
Number 2 is when they like cognitively giggle. They're not just giggling because you're tickling them or something like that. It's just a natural reflex. Like you do something that's funny, and then they start giggling. Yeah, that talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So number 1, this goes way back. This is first couple of months. My favorite thing about fatherhood. And I have a friend who just had a baby a couple of days ago, and she sent us some pictures, and I was like, oh my gosh. He was born at the end of May. And so June and July, especially, lots of time at home away from school. And like you said, all they do the first 2 months is like nap, eat, and poop. That's it.
Me too.
And so we spent a lot of time on a couch, me laying on my back, him laying on my chest, and just watching HGTV and just taking naps together. He just loved to snuggle up on my chest and just nap. And he would kind of half wake up, and he would lift his head, and he would look around like a turtle peeking out of his shell, and then he would lay his head back down and go back to sleep. And I just absolutely cherished those moments of just being able to spend time next to each other, taking a nap with the TV, just that was very nice closeness that we had together. That my number one thing about fatherhood was from 18 years ago.
It's funny because I remember you've told me that several times. That
yeah.
was your favorite part.
Yeah.
And I can remember there were a lot of times when Isla would do that. And I mean, as weird as it is, I would think of you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
You're
he's
like, yeah,
right.
he was right.
This is not.
This is pretty cool.
This is it.
This is pretty cool. All right, what's your number one thing about fatherhood?
So I think, given the the short 2 years so far, for me, it's been watching my mom and dad fall in love with her and get excited to spend time with her and watch her and be with her, and seeing that, seeing their reaction with her is how I envisioned their reaction with me when I was born.
Yeah.
And getting to see that firsthand. And because, I say this with all of my years of experience as a parent, your goal as a parent is to raise somebody that's ready for the world and to move on into the world.
Absolutely.
But then, they reach a point in their life where they're excited to have a baby again.
Well, because they can give her back any time and walk
Well,
away.
yeah. I mean,
I think the honorable mention for fatherhood for me, and you just kind of touched on it a little bit, is because you devote and sacrifice so much to your child, you start to realize, oh my gosh, this is what my parents did for me.
Yeah.
You don't realize it when you're 2 or 10 or 18 or probably even 22. But watching the mom go through the same things, you don't realize what your mom did for you until you watch your child's mom do that for them. Or, I used the quote earlier in this episode that by the time a boy is old enough to realize that his father was always right, he probably has a child who thinks he's always wrong. Right? It's the circle of life, man.
It is.
How true is that? We grow up, you had a great dad, I had a great dad, but we thought our dad was an idiot. When we were 10, 12, 14, we thought they were always wrong. They didn't know anything about the world. And then you turn old enough, you go, oh my gosh, they were right about everything. And then you have a child who thinks you're an idiot,
Well, I remember when I interviewed at Ashland to be an Ashbrook Scholar. And the gentleman that was interviewing me, he was well known in the education universe and in the political universe. And I remember distinctly in the middle of my interview, his phone rang and he looked at it and he said, hang on, I got to take this. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, he was maybe early 70s. And he picked it up and he said, yes, Mom. Okay. Yep, I'll pick you up for lunch. Love you too. And hung up. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me and he said, never miss a chance to answer the phone when it's your mom. Mm-hmm. And you can ask my mom. She remembers that because she was sitting next to me.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I have been at house fires. Mm-hmm. I have been in an airport. I've been in the middle of a show. I've been in the middle of a lot of important things. And she calls me. Doesn't matter. I answer it.
I remember you telling that story a bunch too. This is repeat story day. I've told
It
the
is.
sleeping, napping story, and
we said that we had a podcast for 15 years, and now
Yeah.
people get to hear all these stories.
Yeah, this is it. This is the repeated version of all of that. Okay, well, look, fatherhood is great, but it's not perfect. There are things that are not awesome about it, terrible, if you will. I've actually got two. I've got a tie. One of those things, and I neither of these you've encountered yet. Hopefully. Hopefully not. Number one is the preschool, elementary, and middle school drop-off lines. They are awful. The school dictates traffic patterns. And the traffic patterns are varying degrees of intelligent to stupid. I will grant you, there are lanes that cross over other lanes, and it's not always the best plan. But it is a plan, and it is communicated. And then people ignore the plan. They just drop their kids off and let them run across the parking lot, or they think they're better than the rules. You know, these people. So, like, that was really, really awful. And when he was going into preschool, we decided, actually, I guess he got picked up on the bus for preschool, but kindergarten, we decided that I was going to start dropping him off. And so I dropped him off pretty much every day from preschool all the way until he started driving in his sophomore year. It's like, that's a lot. And so I endured a lot of drop-off lines, and it was pretty awful. So a tie between drop-off lines and, more recently, teenage angst generally centered around relationship drama. You know, I mentioned before, like, your son thinks you're an idiot. These are those moments where I'll go like, hey.
Because we've never been through a bad relationship.
No, never. No, but I'll be like, no, she's not the girl for you. No, she's great. And then 2 weeks later, she broke my heart. Or, it's just like, they have to go through. I mean, they have to, it's part of the learning experience. Yeah. But you stand next to them and it's like, you'll encounter this with like, don't touch the stove. And you can't explain, don't touch the stove. You can't explain, don't touch that, it's sharp. You can't explain, don't date this girl, she's bad for you. They just have to do it and experience it and find out for themselves. And watching that all take place. And, my wife tells me all the time, don't tell him I told you so. No, I told you so all the time. I am all up in it with the, I told you so. You don't listen to me. So that's my worst. What's your worst in your 23 months of fatherhood? Hopefully you won't say relationship drama.
No, not relationship drama. We're not to that point yet. I mean, we will be at some point,
Well, sure.
Girl dad.
Well, girl dad, boy dad.
We're going to have the opposite of it.
It is. I remember when he was born, we weren't rooting for boy or girl, and we didn't find out.
Oh, I did.
We didn't find out until he was born, that he was a boy. But
how did you do that? How did you wait that long?
Well,
I'm not patient.
Well, so I wanted to find out, and she did not want to find out. So we compromised and didn't find out.
And waited.
Luckily, he was a month early, so it was really only 8 months of waiting.
Oh, yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. So, so we were actually on the way to what would be to give birth. We didn't know that it was. We were just on the way to the hospital because she was experiencing some things. And it was like we hadn't really picked out a name. And we had like 5 girl names and 1 boy name. We had.
What was the boy name?
It was actually. Well, it'd be funny if it wasn't, but it was actually Harrison. And I hadn't put the crib together. There was a bunch of stuff we hadn't done because we thought we had a month. There was actually no siding on our house at the moment. There was not a working bathroom in our house at the moment. Not a full bathroom. There was the half bath, but not a shower. And so. It was like, we didn't know. And it was like, oh, well, okay, he's a boy, but a mutual friend of ours, Elmer, said to me, well, were you rooting for a boy? And I said, no, we didn't care. But I was kind of glad once we had a boy, I was like, well, I don't have to worry about prom dresses and that sort of thing. Now, I will say, on a serious note, it hurts my life. I will never walk my daughter down the aisle. Like, that's something I we'll never get, your dad never did it either because you got a brother, but like that's something that I think is going to be missing. I'll never get to do that. That stings. That stings a little bit.
Okay. Let me soften the blow a little bit, because I know that Harrison is going to have these moments that he remembers forever, because I've had these moments with my dad that I remember forever, where, like, I remember telling him that I was going to propose.
Yeah.
I remember telling him that he was going to be a grandfather again, and I remember, sitting on the stage the night before my wedding and having a heart to heart, like those moments. Sure, you don't get the pomp and circumstance of walking down the aisle.
Yeah.
And
I think it's better this way.
But there's still the behind. I mean, it's not behind the scenes anymore with Dad and I. But like that's who I go to when I say, "Hey, life sucks. I don't need help. I just need somebody to talk to."
And we already have. I mean, he's 18, 17, 18. I mean, we've already had some of those. He goes to Mom for certain things, obviously. He comes to me for certain other things, obviously. And that has been special. But yeah, it's always been a little bit of just a knife in the chest that, man, I'll never get to walk my daughter down the aisle.
That's fair.
All right, worst thing about fatherhood, what is it?
Well, it's a little bit of a tie for me. I mean, one is the obvious, when, like, they're crying and you can't just tell them, stop crying, it's okay.
Or you have no idea why.
Like, their foot may itch and you're changing their diaper.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But I think, for me, it's when you prepare all of these things, like, you get all of the newborn things, and it only lasts for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon, like, you go out to the garage and you see those little tiny bottles that they used to use, and you're thinking, oh, she's never going to use those again.
Yeah.
And it just kind of hits you like, yes, we knew that they were going to grow up.
Yep.
But how fast they were going to grow up?
Yep.
Nobody prepared me for that one.
Well, you know what they say, the days are long, but the years are short. And there is no truer statement in the world. I think another thing about Isla's age, you think to yourself, diapers and formula are so expensive. I can't wait until we're done. And then it's babysitters. You go, oh my gosh, the babysitter is so expensive. I can't wait until we're done. And then it's youth sports. I can't wait until,
it's never so bad.
This is so expensive. Like, the budget will be so much easier when we're done with. And now I'm doing college visits.
And I got news for you. I mean, even now, there's times when Mom, Dad, and I will go out for dinner, and they'll take care of dinner.
And you go,
it never stops.
Okay.
It never stops.
No problem.
Never stops.
Well, we went to a track meet 2 weeks ago, drove her parents down to the track meet. They were on the way. We picked them up, and they paid to get in, and I just kept my hands in my pockets.
Yep.
Thanks, Mom.
Well, shucks.
Matt, this has been one of our best episodes.
Has it?
I don't know. Maybe. Congratulations on fatherhood. Cheers. Didn't exactly work.
Sound like we're playing croquet over here.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So, enjoy Father's Day. You have any big plans?
No.
I'm just going to lay on the couch and watch golf.
Oh.
I love Father's Day golf.
I don't know that I've experienced Father's Day golf.
It's the U.S. Open, right?
Sure.
Well, one of those.
We could go
big
golf.
tournaments. I haven't golfed in a long time, and I was bad when I did golf, so.
That's all right. The best thing for golfers is to not golf.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be great then. Hey, have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye.
That's it. No, green on your happy plate.
Pretzels. Why is there 10 pounds of salt in the bottom of my bag of pretzels? Small sticks, large sticks, circles, large warm ones, all the pretzel sizes and shapes. Look, we could put a person on the moon. We can send a probe to Mars. We can create a self-driving electric car, but we can't make salt stick to to a pretzel? Is it really that hard to accomplish? Are there scientists even working on it? Or do they want the salt to fall off the pretzel? Not to be all conspiracy theory on you, but maybe they want the salt to fall off. Look, I'm not saying this is one of the top 5 things plaguing the world. Heck, it's not even really one of the top 20 worst things about my life. But it would be nice to have salt stick to the pretzel, right? There are heroes among us, however. Shout out to the beer cheese people. They saw a problem and found a solution. It's a solution that only works if you have soft pretzels and beer cheese, but not all heroes wear capes. I feel better. Do you feel better? I feel better. Homework for the week. It's June. It's summer. We did have a lot of great feedback from a few weeks ago when I shared an excerpt from a book called Kids Deserve It. So I thought, hey, during summer vacation, why not just share another? Instead of giving homework, let's skip all that complicated homework and just enjoy the following thought. Quote, educators work far more than an 8-hour day. Their work is a complicated jigsaw puzzle of time with kids, meetings, trainings, phone calls, emails, letters to write grades, and so much more. But educators are committed and work tirelessly because they know how much the kids deserve it. They know they only have a small window of time to make a lasting impact on their students. So we sometimes exhaust ourselves. We get overwhelmed. We burn out. We have seen how quickly burnout can derail even the best educators. So how do we keep that from happening? It's important to unplug and recharge. Take time to disconnect from the phone, email, and constant Facebook and Twitter updates. It's hard because those things are constantly pulling at you. But it's important to put them aside sometimes. Spend some time with those closest to you, or even spend time alone. When you do, you refuel yourself. End quote. Interesting how that aligns with some of Nicole's thoughts that we shared for last week's homework in time with friends, connection, and time with self, spiritual. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment, or send a message on the app of your choice. You can text the show with the link at the bottom of the description. Check out our merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS and our YouTube channel at Robert H. Sloan RHS Music. We hope you'll join us next week for Clone Wars Season 3, Episodes 12, 13, and 14. Please go watch these before next week. Great stuff. And why can't you learn to park? Thanks for joining me today. The theme music is Superfly, written by me, copyright RHS Music. The show logo is designed by John Suh, and the show is produced by my sister, Kathy. I hope you'll join us next time for more reflections and rantings on symbols and cynicism.